And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show. It is Sunday, May 2nd. I am Josh Engleman, and I am joined by my partner in crime on these Sundays. We had one brief break where the boss man showed up. Ryan, how are you today?
I'm doing well. It's a pleasant Midwest Sunday morning. The weather's in the 70s. We're getting warmer. It's May 2nd, and we got another big NBA slate to talk about.
I got a little piece of dried mango stuck in my teeth right now. It's really annoying. That's the best thing I got right now. That's the best thing I got. It's Sunday, man. Energy is lower than it should be. I got some good sleep last night. I tried out these, my wife just picked up these new CBD gummies that have like melatonin and lemon balm and all that other good sleep stuff. So I took one of those last night, and I think it made me sleep too well. Like I couldn't zap myself out of it. So now I'm sucking down the extra high test coffee to try to counteract it. So I'm always putting in one thing, trying to force it out with something else. It's one of those Sundays.
I feel that.
I was up a little bit too late. I thought I couldn't even make it to the end of the UFC card last night. And unfortunately I missed a really nice knockout, but got to like 3 fights left and I had to tap out. It was too much for me. Couldn't even make it to midnight on a Saturday. I'm an old man.
Yeah, I was super tired as well. I just passed out before midnight as well. I saw my lineups didn't have anything live, and I was like, yeah, it's time to cut this night off early, and I caught some Z's earlier than usual.
Well, there you go. Guys, I see we got about 100 people in here, 37 likes, decent start. Please hit that thumbs up when you get a chance. Helps us out a ton. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. We'll touch on the shows that we've got going on for the rest of the day a little bit later. And I do want to give a quick shout out to No House Advantage, the presenting sponsor of the strategy show. Again, we will touch on No House Advantage in a little bit. Jordan, we're taking a look at yesterday's slate. Just quickly, just going to dip our toe in the water of what happened on Saturday. And I know it didn't happen. Soup and Sandwich did not win the Kentucky Derby, unfortunately. Out to a great start, chilling in second for a bit, and then I believe finished dead last. Just didn't have enough gas in the tank, unfortunately.
Shout out to Bob Baffert. The guy's an absolute goat at just making these horses constantly win. I'm just in awe with this guy. This guy, it's got 7 horses that have won the Kentucky Derby.
Shout out to Ashley Schaefer of Ashley Schaefer BMW. Looks exactly like Will Ferrell's character in Eastbound and Down. It's incredible. Ty Davis, congratulations. You're $100,000 richer when you woke up today. Played 7 lineups. Not too shabby. What's even more interesting, one of them was duped twice. No, that they just finished in the same spot. Okay, the places are just wrong. Those are 2 separate. 349. How is that possible? Okay, I'm talking through this as I'm seeing it. So he had one lineup that obviously won. He had 2 other lineups that finished with the same score, but they're not the same lineup. And then he had 3 lineups that are legitimately duped. And then he had 1 outlier. So he duped one lineup 3 times, had 2 other lineups land on the same number, and also hit the winner last night, which is kind of wild. Russell Westbrook goes for 74 fantasy points, 17 of 30 from the field yesterday. Svi Mykhailiuk, Luka Doncic, Mo Wagner, O'Shea Brissett, Aaron Holiday, Thad Young, Lonzo Ball. How in the world is Domantas Sabonis not in the winning lineup? Was he not supposed to play? How does that happen?
I think people were scared with how many minutes he was going to play, and then he puts up a triple-double in the first half, and it was an absolutely sensational. I think it came out 1.6% owned last night.
He was 0.1%, 9,400. So that makes more sense to me. We projected 0.1. He was 1.6. Yeah. I assume that he ended up with slightly more fantasy points. I forgot that he didn't play the fourth quarter. 29 minutes, 26 points, 19 rebounds, 14 assists, and a steal. I mean, he was live, if that game is even mildly competitive, to go for 20-20-20.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't win by 57, and like if this game is maybe like a 17-point game heading into the fourth, he has that 100-point fantasy game in the bag. Not in the bag, but very, very close to it.
Kudos to Domantas Sabonis for that one. And kudos to Mo Wagner, second highest owned player on the slate yesterday. 36.25 fantasy points and 11x number on DraftKings. That's good chalk, I guess, when it hits. feels pretty good to get 36.5 out of 3,300.
Oh yeah, no denying that. Especially the night before he went 0 for 7 and he turned that around and paid off for. I guess that was the only thing that I felt like was right on my half. I mean, Russ and Luka in some lineups together, but I think I'm missing out on like the key low price options. Really bit me.
Yeah, Luka Doncic 40% owned goes for 80. That's gonna need that chalk when it happens. That's for sure. Gonna be hard to get away from it. Also, shout out to Neil Corfield. Another second place finish, but we've been shouting him out pretty regularly. Friend of the program, Awesemo sub. Good to see him get some continued success. We got 7 games today. You ready to dive into this bad boy? And they basically all start at 8 o'clock. It's a really weird one.
Yeah, let's ride.
All righty, guys. Ooh, 180 viewers, 53 likes. You guys are doing a very good job. We're starting it off now. Portland Trailblazers at the Boston Celtics. Celtics 2.5-point favorites, 232 total. Kemba looking like he's going to be out for this one. Doubtful as of right now. But the rest of this game is good. Nobody out for Portland. The rest of Boston is healthy. So let's start on the Portland side. Ownership coming in pretty heavily to Dame and CJ on FanDuel. Not a ton of ownership coming in on DraftKings at all. Dame continues to be, to me, underpriced, but at this point, 8,500 on FanDuel. It's starting to climb again. What are you looking at for Portland today against Boston?
Yeah, the Portland side of things, as long as Dame Lillard is under 9K on FanDuel, I think definitely going to be a viable option. That ownership is coming in at some significant amounts. I think I'm okay going over the field on a guy like Dame Lillard in this matchup versus Boston. No issues there. McCollum at 7,500 still in play. Now, on a 7-game slate, if you land on both, it's not terrible. Their prices are kind of appropriate where they both can be pretty efficient in getting there. Obviously, it's not optimal by any means, and both hitting that upside together. But this Portland team across the board on FanDuel is getting some ownership. Even Bob Covington at a 4,900. We know his upside is purely based on if he can pick up those steals and blocks. And I feel confident in his minutes, and 4,900 where you're at the roster too. I think he's a pretty solid option. And I don't mind taking some chances on Nurkic. The guy's he's shown some flashes of greatness. 7,600 where we at the roster one. He's a fine tournament option in my opinion. $7,200 on DraftKings. I like that quite a bit. But if you want to pivot off of him, and we'll talk about the other center in the same game on the Boston side of things, but Nurkic is like a great tournament option. He has been rusty all year long, it's felt like, and he was amazing in that bubble when he was putting up 50 fantasy points left and right. Now, is that going to happen again? I guess we're going to be asking for too much, but I don't mind it. I think it's a low-owned tournament option with serious upside.
It's a weird team right now. I think they all pretty much look the same on DK relative to salary. Nurk Covington maybe a little bit overpriced at 5,100, but I do like the minutes. But those are all like 10%ers. To me, FanDuel, Lillard, McCollum, and Covington at 4,900 are the 3 main pieces for me. I don't know what happened to Norm Powell, but boy, he has been dreadful for Portland so far. 0.79 FanDuel points per minute over the last 30 days. I guess when you go from having a backcourt that likes to dominate the ball a little bit to going to a backcourt that likes to dominate the ball a lot a bit. The change from Lowry and Van Vliet to Lillard and McCollum, that's a lot more usage on the Portland side.
Yeah, and there was
not able to find his legs.
There was a long stretch for Norm Powell where he was playing without Van Vliet and Lowry and Siakam, and he was the lead dog. So he just went from having everything at the table to just pretty much doing JJ Redick minutes out there, just running around at this point.
Now, on the Boston side, no Kemba, so we sort of know what's going on here. We haven't had him for a game or two. Robert Williams, 5,400 on FanDuel, 5,200 on DraftKings, slowly but surely getting those minutes back. And then we've got, obviously, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, generally speaking, the 2 stars here. Or are we going to Evan Fournier, who has been equally as bad as Norm Powell in his new team? How are you feeling about Boston?
Yeah, so last time, obviously, Jason Tatum puts on a career performance, dropping 60 points. I think he ties Larry Bird for the Celtic record. He single-handedly brought them back. They were down 32, and he brought them back. While in this run, Robert Williams, I do think missed out on that final rotation sit just because Tristan Thompson was rebounding everything, and Tristan Thompson was weirdly on triple-double watch, I believe. And he gets pulled out in overtime, and Williams gets inserted back in. So I do think Brad Stevens did ride the hot hand there with Tristan Thompson. So I think I feel a little bit more confident where I think Robert Williams has a potential to play high 20s minutes today, barring any foul trouble against Nurkic. And when he has given the minutes this year, he's been a fantasy monster. So Robert Williams, probably my favorite Celtic on this team. Shout out to our cover boy, Jaylen Brown, 8,800, 8,400. I think 8,400 on DraftKings is very doable. 8,800 on FanDuel. He's in play because we have to roster 2 small forwards. And maybe it's a Brown game other than Tatum. And Brown, someone who obviously I think missed a game earlier in the week, had a couple of 2 monster games, and he came down to earth after a 5 for 24 performance. He'll shoot a lot better than that, especially against this Portland team. I think pivoting to Brown off of Tatum today makes for a lot of sense because you're going to get the savings. And obviously Tatum's upside is a little bit more greater, but the upside is not that far off for Jaylen Brown.
Are you surprised to see this entire team for Boston in single digits in ownership?
Yeah, I think coming in over the field in this type of matchup makes a lot of sense. Like even a guy like Marcus Smart, who we can expect to play high 30s minutes, he's one of those guys who can just get weirdly hot from the outside and pick up peripherals on FanDuel and pay off that salary. So this team is somewhere I like targeting the matchup just because against Portland, they're pretty god-awful at defense, and I think we can take our chances with Boston.
Yeah, this game has the biggest total on the slate, and there are 2 or 3 games that don't exactly have that same sort of appeal. So I'm keeping my eye on this one from a low ownership perspective, particularly on DraftKings. Anything else you want to touch on from Boston or Portland?
I circling back on Evan Fournier, the guy just looks awful. And I think just coming in under the field, having sprinkled amount of exposure to him, I think his exposure coming into the field seems a tad bit high just because he's not gone there. Now the matchup is great and it's an all right play. It's nothing that I'm going to be head over heels for.
What do you think is this COVID for him? Is that the problem?
Yeah, I think so. I think if you look at some like of the video, he's just huffing and puffing on the sidelines. He's struggling with it.
So far in 244 minutes for the Celtics, do you know what Evan Fournier's usage rate is?
I don't know, 8%. I'm just guessing.
I mean, like you're way closer than you should be. 14.9.
Yeah, he's been terrible. And it's just like he was brought on to be able to be that outside perimeter 3-point shooter, and that's been non-existent.
He's shooting 34% from 3, which is below average. But hold the phone, he's shooting 29% from 2.
Oh my God. Yeah. So the thing for Fournier, going back to the play, I do think these numbers will get better. So I think if you're going to be playing him, we're buying him at the lowest. And we should be targeting guys when you're buying him at the lowest. So that's one thing that's going for Fournier. Maybe I'm a product of recency bias of how he's been playing on the team, but he's been that bad where I'm like scared to roster him.
Yeah, it's truly, truly atrocious. Let's move this one on now. Miami Heat, Charlotte Hornets. Now for the Miami side, we've got Victor Oladipo still out. Tyler Hero is out. Goran Dragic is shrug emoji, doubtful, questionable, potentially on the back-to-back for rest. We don't really know his status yet. Nemanja Bjelica also questionable. I don't generally enjoy getting to Miami in general. Do you see anything that stands out here? Is it Bam? Is it Butler? Is it one of the rotation pieces?
So Miami on a back-to-back, I have just a huge asterisk on my head that there's going to be some chance some guy gets ruled out on a back-to-back for this Miami team. So barring any news based on the news that we have in the situation right now, matchup against Charlotte, that's average. In this game, Jimmy Butler is just going to be in play just because of an upside standpoint and a small forward standpoint on FanDuel because we have to roster 2 there. And Bam Adebayo is a fine play. It's nothing too exciting. It's just that he, of late, has just not been as aggressive offensively. The rebounds are there. His facilitation has been all right. Obviously, he was amazing in that NBA bubble last year. Yeah. Honestly, it's just Jimmy Butler for me. And if Dragic is out, I think we can take some chances on Kendrick Nunn if that were to open up.
Am I seeing this correctly? 1 hour ago. I loaded in the wrong ownership projections into my sheet somehow. It had like 2 days ago still cached. And I guess I didn't refresh it. It was like, oh, I saw it and it said, 4 minutes ago. So I pasted it in. I was just wondering why I had all these zeros showing up. It's because none of that information was even remotely close to correct. So Oh, well, fixed it now. Because I opened up Miami and the whole column was blank. I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, Jimmy Butler projected for 26% ownership on DK right now, 29 on FanDuel. Bam Adebayo in double digits on both sites. And then we're seeing Duncan Robinson get to 14% on FanDuel. I am rarely excited about rostering anybody from Miami, and today doesn't appear to be much different.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. That's something how it's kind of been like, because of they like obviously had a huge stretch with COVID. We had some stretch to rostering Tyler Hero here and there, but the team's not been playing well all year. Obviously, they played really, really well into the bubble last year, and I don't know how they'll play in the playoffs. They might have a first round matchup against the Nets, which will be kind of fun to watch potentially. I have no idea.
Yeah, let me pull up playoff status and just see where they officially stand. So in the East, the Miami Heat they are fully spread out. 10% chance of finishing in the 4 seed, 15% chance of finishing in the 5 seed, 21 at 6, 30 at 7, 18 at 8. So, I mean, they are pretty live for everything, but 7 seed is the most likely scenario, with 6 and 8 being the next two.
If you're Miami, you want to play Atlanta or the Knicks, correct? In the first round?
Yes, getting into the 5 is obviously massive there.
Mm-hmm.
You could make, this is going to sound so stupid. If I'm the Heat, and like, you're not tanking to do this, but there are significantly worse situations than finishing in the 7 spot and catching the Nets in the first round if they're not fully healthy. Like, if you're going to get the Nets, I think you want them in the first round. And I think that Miami is the only team that wouldn't care that they're facing the Nets. Like, the Hornets have nothing for them. The Pacers have nothing for them. The Wizards have nothing for them. If Miami has everybody healthy, Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler are not going to give a single shit about facing those 3 guys from the Nets. And if one of them can't be out on the floor, that's a very different series.
Yeah. And I have no idea what James Harden's injury status is. I think it's a lot worse than obviously people think, but yeah, that'll be a phenomenal first round matchup in terms of pure basketball talent perspective. It'd be great. They're live to beat them at some aspect of it just because the defense is so bad. So it'd be great to watch from a basketball standpoint, but I truly think they don't want to play the Nets in the first round. They wouldn't.
I mean, like, no one would want them, but if you don't know, like, if Harden's not healthy, that's a very, very different series. And I can't imagine what sort of shit Jimmy Butler would be talking to James Harden in a playoff series. I don't know if they like.
And you catch Harden
friendly,
going to Miami for a playoff series. It's a wrap for.
Oh my God. You'd have to cage him up like he's Hannibal Lecter. Just like, you can't let him outside. You just have to like wheel him in and unleash him for every game.
I bet. Yeah. James Harden in Miami. That's probably the main reason Pat Riley didn't want to trade for him.
K Cork in chat says there was an update yesterday on Harden basically confirming he's out for the regular season. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all.
Mm-hmm.
They can ease him back if they're facing the Hornets or the Wizards or something in the first round series. There's no threat there at all. But they could get to the finals without Miami. They want him for Miami. Yeah, that would be nuts.
I think they still can get to the finals without Harden. That's how talented the offense is on the Nets. It'd be tough, but they could.
And so if they have the 1 seed and they have to face the winner of Knicks Hawks in the second round, that is how they can get themselves at least to the Eastern Conference Finals pretty easy. If you have to play, they have to avoid the Bucks, basically, is the easiest way to say it. Like, I think the Nets are not going to have a very good time with the Bucks if they're down one of those 3 guys.
That's fair.
They'll beat the Hawks and the Knicks without one of those guys. That I'm confident in. And if I'm wrong, even better. It'll be chaos. Hornets side of this Miami game, we finally got LaMelo Ball back, which is exciting. We also got Malik Monk back now too, so we're still just waiting on Gordon Hayward. Does kind of mean that everybody on Charlotte is probably mildly overpriced now that we're starting to get these bodies back. Ownership, though, on LaMelo Ball at 6,100 on FanDuel, coming in at a crisp 25%. How do you feel about Charlotte now that these guys are back?
Yeah, so LaMelo Ball is someone who I still rostered yesterday on FanDuel because he was 5,600, now up to 6,100. I like that he played 28 minutes, and I don't think his condition is going to be off. It's a upper body hand injury. LaMelo Ball is just going to be fine. He's priced too cheap. This team's trying to win games, and he's going to help them get there. He's now minus 500 to win Rookie of the Year, just coming back after one game. So shout out to him and those Rookie of the Year futures bets for all those who placed him out in. But yeah, LaMelo Ball, probably my favorite Hornet to roster because of the upside. And if he's going to play potentially 30 plus minutes, I know it's a tough Miami matchup, but it's LaMelo Ball. He's just finding the way to pay off in different ways on the box score. And that's something that's great. Devontae Graham, who was a late scratch yesterday after lock, which is really annoying for a lot of people. And I completely understand. We could have gotten that news much earlier, but I think, it's LaMelo Ball for me. And if you want to target another upside, Terry Rozier still continuing to take a bunch of shots on this team. He's found a way to get to 23 last time. And you're going to love a guy when he's taking 20 plus shot attempts and he's priced under 8K. And that's still, I'm going to be targeting that offensive usage. He's probably the second guy to go to. With LaMelo Ball coming in back, and that's really about it. It's Ball and Rozier. I prefer Ball to Rozier by quite a bit, though.
If Graham doesn't play today, do you see anybody picking up the minutes that ends up being viable? Whether that's, Cody Martin's already priced up pretty far. Malik Monk is already priced up to a point where I don't know if he gets enough minutes there. Does it really change anything if Graham is out?
So Monk came back. He came back from a lower body right ankle injury, found a way to 22 minutes. It's a back-to-back. I'd be cautious. I don't think it would go to Monk. Maybe Martin, maybe, but it's really tough to pinpoint in confidence. Miles Bridges still found a way to mid-30s minutes. Maybe somehow he's getting an extra few minutes sprinkled his way.
Yeah.
I don't
maybe
have
it's
any.
Brad Wanamaker gets 16 minutes and it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, it's just I just feel like Devontae Graham being ruled out. It's not the biggest thing because LaMelo Ball is back in the picture. It's felt like LaMelo Ball got some extra minutes because of that, even because of that situation as well.
Any other thoughts for this Hornets Heat game?
No, I think LaMelo Ball is still a little too cheap just for the situation as well. So I think we can continue to roster him.
Jordan, do we have Hall of Fame? We do? Okay, well, let's do that then. Let's dive into the Awesemo Hall of Fame. And I'm not entirely sure. Well, we will wait. I'll do the schedule first. So we've got 3 more shows coming up later today at noon Eastern time. MLB live before lock. EMAC, Max, and Gundak are breaking down today's baseball slate as they lead you up to lock. At 5:30, we're going to get the NBA deeper dive. Eaton and Terry. I don't think I said that right, but
it's Eitan.
It's Eitan. Okay. Not Eton. Eitan. My apologies. I will get used to that in the future. I've only ever read it or I've seen Laffy type it. I have not. That's the first that I've heard it. So Eitan and Terry on NBA deeper dive. NBA live before lock with Jason and Eric at 6:30, rounding out the end of our Sunday shows. And Jordan, that's exciting. You're sharing your screen and I can see it now. I'm pretty happy about that. This is the first time that I'm doing the Hall of Fame read. And I didn't know how I was going to do it. I was getting ready to go pull up the, what's it called? The PowerPoint. So I'm pinning this now. Oh, perfect. This works perfectly. Jay Whalen, what's going on? First place in the MMA contest this weekend. Yesterday, I guess. Did you see any of the MMA yesterday?
I did not. I'm not an avid MMA fan. It's blowing up. Okay. Shout out to Dana White. He made the UFC, part of the UFC group, go public earlier in the week. So pretty exciting for them.
Yeah. Yuri Prochazka. There's no way I'm saying his last name correctly, but it's got a bunch of letters in it that make it harder. Thrilling knockout against Dom Reyes yesterday. Giga Chikadze with the liver kick to pick up another W. Both guys in the winning lineup. So shout out to Jay Whalen for picking up a W there. What else we have here? There's no way that I could read. Is that Satori Echo? I think that's what that says. Satori. It's a little blurry on my screen. Takes down the NBA Mini Max yesterday by, 21.25 fantasy points. So that must be like literal, close to literal nuts there. To take down the Mini Max with 418.75. Second place is 397.50. Love seeing the Awesemo logo there. And he got 5th. So kudos there. And then we get friend of the program, former Sunday show host with me, Eric Lindquist, picking up some NHL wins. Took third. Third works. Top three, you're happy. Always. You want it to be first, but top three will work. Shout out to Eric on that one. And then Be Great 36, picking up 20K in the NBA shot. I saw that one posted earlier today. Just missed out on first. Smoking Cutler picking up a W in the Slam Jam, the night slate by 24.75. We are smoking people. Oh my God. We are winning by like a full extra player.
Yeah.
Like that's really hard to do, man. Congratulations to everybody. Those screenshots with some of those scores being 25 additional NBA points ahead. That's really difficult to do. That's awesome. Congratulations, everybody.
Congrats. That's awesome to hear. I'm glad everyone's having fun with the avatar and you guys are taking advantage of that. Definitely one of the best things out there to do.
Yeah, you should go to awesemo.com. In the drop down for social, go to the Rock the Awesemo avatar link. You can sign up, get the avatar on any site that you're playing on. As long as you place in the top three of any tournament with 5,000 or more entries, you can tweet at us at Awesemo Hall of Fame or at Awesemo HOF. Nobody wants to type out Hall of Fame. That's ridiculous. You can win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum just for using the avatar and picking up a W. So it's a twofer. You win and you get something for free. It's perfect. Mutually beneficial for all of us here.
Indeed.
Keeping it moving. Sacramento Kings, Dallas Mavericks. Sacramento a little bit walking wounded right now. So we've got De'Aaron Fox obviously still out. Harrison Barnes doubtful. And then Chimezie Metu also doubtful. Took a big time spill last time out. Landed hard on his back and hit the back of his head on the ground. So assuming he is not going to be in, how are you feeling about this Sacramento Kings team that is even more shorthanded? Although now they do have Marvin Bagley back.
Yeah, Marvin Bagley did return. He was on a minutes limit, and Luke Walton stuck by his word. Maybe it was just because he wasn't playing well type of limit. He ended up playing only 21 minutes last night. There's a chance he could play more today. On a power forward position on FanDuel, he's not the craziest of plays just because they need bodies at this point. And last time against the Lakers, who they won, they beat the Lakers last time. Terrence Davis closed the game with for them. Terrence Davis got up to 24 minutes last time out. So in this the Sacramento side of things, obviously Halliburton and Hield are their lead dogs there. I expect those two to have the most usage on this team going forward. Maybe Rashawn Holmes creeps in there in a matchup versus Dallas, but with the bodies limited, I don't mind Marvin Bagley at his price tag. I think there's a chance where he can play 25 minutes. And Bagley, when given the minutes at times, he has an upside in him. So he could put up around 25 minutes. There's a chance he could get around 30 fantasy points. I think I'd be pretty content with that outcome. But I really like going to Buddy Hield as a pivot off of Tyrese Halliburton, as I always do, which is kind of my problem.
Well, Tyrese Halliburton over the past 30 days on FanDuel, 0.93 fantasy points per minute. Buddy Hield, 0.97. So he's actually been better for $800 cheaper. I think they play similar minutes. I would expect Halliburton to generally be better, but it hasn't borne out so far with these guys out. So I actually like that call for getting to a little bit more Buddy Hield. And yeah, for Bagley, normally a fantasy point per minute guy, see no reason that on a bigger day he couldn't see. To me, he has the opportunity when you're at a fantasy point per minute. If you have an outlier performance where you're playing better and you get that number to like 1.2, 1.3, that's awesome. But I also think that he has a minutes upside as well, where he could just fall into, it wouldn't shock me if he played 30 minutes with the way that they're shorthanded and everything. So I think from the projection that I have, he can play better and play more. And that when you get that double whammy, I really like getting the guys like that in GPPs. Yeah.
And there's also the salary perspective of it as well. It's too cheap for that upside. So we need to target that in these situations, and especially in tournaments when he's at his ownership right now. There's so many, I think we just listed off multiple pathways for him to exceed in being a really good fantasy play for us today.
Now, on the Dallas side, Jordan, I forgot to add Dallas into the sheet, but Kristaps Porzingis is out. JJ Redick is questionable. Those are the only two main pieces for Dallas right now. You going back to Luka after yesterday's big one?
Yeah, it's a Sacramento matchup. I mean, he played Sacramento, I believe, last week, and it was dreadful. Went 8 from 20 from the field, only had 40 fantasy points. But it's Luka Doncic. Anytime a guy has the potential to be the highest scoring player on the slate, on this size, you're going to have a lot of interest in him. And I think at that ownership, it's fine to come in with the field. I wouldn't have any issues if you want to go a little bit over. But I do think there's going to be another Maverick in this matchup that's going to be pretty solid. Is it going to be Hardaway? Is it going to be DFS? Is it going to be Josh Richardson? The trio of wings, it is so hard to pinpoint which one is going to pay off. Dorian Finney-Smith has elevated his offensive game of late this season. He went 8 of 12 from yesterday. Kind of an outlier shooting performance from him. 8 of 12. He hit a game-winning 3 last night. That's the guy I'm going to be least excited in. I think taking my chances on a Richardson or Hardaway Jr. just because of their ownership, maybe. They're kind of coming in identical ownership, but I don't mind Richardson at $4,500 on FanDuel. I think there's a pathway for him to play high 20s minutes in this type of matchup. And I think for me, I'd go Richardson, Hardaway Jr. than Finney-Smith. They're all so close, though. They're all so close.
Any thoughts at $3,300 Dwight Powell? To me, that price is a little interesting. I have him in for 24 minutes right now. 6% ownership against Sacramento. I'm mildly intrigued as a pay down option.
Yeah, so Dwight Powell, if you kind of just see his box score, it's the longest time he wasn't playing more than 12, 13 minutes. Now it's like 14, 15. Now it's about 16, 17. No, Porzingis has kind of made it like the high teens of minutes. Yeah. And Dwight Powell, when given minutes, pretty solid fantasy contributor when playing extended minutes at times. So he's not the craziest plays where we're trying to seek some value out. It's not a bad play in my opinion, taking some chances on salary like that.
Or is it Willie Cauley-Stein, even cheaper? Played 27 minutes yesterday, 23, 27, 19 in the other 3 games that Porzingis hasn't played over this past week. If Willie Cauley-Stein is getting 24 minutes or more at 3,100, to me, that's another value option. Revenge narrative, right? He used to be on Sacramento.
He was on Sacramento, yeah. Where they used to play him at the power forward with Boogie at times, which is kind of wild how the NBA is bonkers. He's also not out of play either. So mix and match. I don't think I could play them both in a lineup. I don't think I could. I wouldn't want to do that. But yeah, they're cheap guys where we haven't really listed off many guys that we have a ton of interest under 4K. These are the first 2 guys so far that we've talked about at their salaries where there's on a slate of the size, if they find a way to 25, 26 fantasy points, they're taking that lineup, taking you to the top usually.
Yeah. Anything else for Dallas or Sacramento?
No, it's a pretty solid fantasy environment where we can target mix and match guys around Luka. So pretty solid fantasy guys. There are going to be a couple guys from this lineup that have potentially tournament winning upside from this game.
On to the next one. The New York Knicks at the Houston Rockets. Rockets are 9.5-point dogs at home. 216.5 total is the second lowest on the slate. There is not a lot here for me to like on the Knicks side other than Randall and Barrett. They are the guys that pick up most of the ownership. Randall, in fact, at 34% ownership on FanDuel right now. Those are the 2 guys that stand out most to me. We'll actually have to talk a little bit about this Houston side. Alec Burks is the only real question mark for the Knicks. He is literally questionable right now. What do you want to do with the Knicks in I guess a good spot against Houston? I mean, half of these guys for Houston aren't real NBA players.
So this is huge for Thibs. The Knicks have had 3 days off in this type of condensed NBA schedule. It was kind of wild to me. So I think you could obviously Julius Randle just been a fantasy monster this season. Now a matchup versus Houston. How can you not love that matchup? And for him, he is 10-2 over there on DraftKings. That is expensive, but $9,700 on FanDuel. On that FanDuel roster construction, definitely someone I will be going to. I think everyone else on this Knicks team is kind of priced appropriately or too high outside of Randall. It's not the craziest thing if you want to somehow think this game gets wonky and Emmanuel quickly gets hot at that price tag at $3,800, $4,100. Kind of a pure tournament play, but that's just targeting upside. It would really help him if Alec Burks doesn't sit. If Alec Burks does sit, that's really about it. It's Randall and then a bunch of guys who I can't have a ton of interest in. RJ Barrett has been playing better, but I just don't feel confident at 6,500, especially we've talked about some other guys around that price range who we prefer better.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. On the Houston side, we kind of know how this is going, but they are just a weird team in terms of availability. So Avery Bradley, questionable, Daniel House, questionable, and now Sterling Brown is questionable as well. So I don't know what we can really assume for those guys. I have no idea. I don't trust anything that they are doing from a roster perspective right now. Anybody can play or sit at this point. Kevin Porter Jr., though, 7,700 on FanDuel, 7,600 on DraftKings, basically running the entire team with no John Wall and no any other functional guys. Christian Wood is up to 9,300 on FanDuel. That's a pretty tough sell to me. Kelly Olynyk, 9K on FanDuel right now. I wouldn't have expected Kelly Olynyk to be 9K in like the captain spot of something in a showdown contest, let alone 9K straight on FanDuel. Probably not going to get there either. What can we do with Houston? Porter, Tate, Armani Brooks? I have no idea anymore.
Congratulations to Kelly Olynyk for reaching a new career high in FanDuel salary. $9,000 is quite the number for Kelly Olynyk. If you want to play Kelly Olynyk, you can play him on DraftKings at 7,400. It'd be a low-owned tournament shot. It's a Knicks matchup. This Knicks team is not fun to play fantasy guys in terms of fantasy purposes against. If you want to target upside, I think going to Christian Wood, that's a guy we can consider $8,600 on DraftKings. Him and Porter Jr. are just it's going to be the concentrated usage for these two guys. I think they're going to lead the way in shot attempts. Kelly Olynyk could obviously sneak in there as kind of like it's like a 1A, 1B, 1C situation over there. And that's, I don't like anyone else outside of those three guys just because I don't feel confident in what those minutes are looking like for other people on this team. It's just those three guys. I can't go to KJ Martin at 4,700. I know he played 33 minutes last time, but is that 33 minutes likely again? I'm not sure. That's the minutes are, if he's going to play 33 minutes again, he's going to be in play just because of those minutes, but it's a Knicks matchup. It's okay. That's really about it. I don't know why he got those extra 33 extra minutes last time out. I have no idea.
I looked into it a little bit, couldn't seem to figure out why it happened. Hasn't really been doing that all that frequently. And we'll see, if if Avery Bradley ends up in, that changes things pretty dramatically. If Sterling Brown or Daniel House happen to end up in, those guys are going to move directly into the rotation in a much bigger manner. I mean, Sterling Brown and Daniel House are sort of like rotational pieces when they are healthy. So when everybody else is out, it's probably going to be a little bit different. Ultimately, it's a really tough game to want to target. Knicks defense is really good. It's slow. Houston has not the best offense. So interesting balance for this one. Anything else you want to touch on for Houston and New York?
No, it's really tough fantasy game in terms of DFS game to target. It's just not that enticing.
Phoenix Suns at the Oklahoma City Thunder. And just in case that's not a typo, I'm going to look this up again, but I have it as I guess this is right. The Thunder are 15-point dogs at home, 224 total. Let's just make sure that I'm not wrong there. Yep, 15 points. That's tough to do at home. That's truly, truly dreadful. Good God, Oklahoma City. You are putting the tank in tank, that's for sure. Jay Crowder is out. Cam Payne is doubtful. Abdel Nader is out. Let's start on the Phoenix side. This doesn't feel like a game where Chris Paul is going to play north of 30 minutes, but who the hell knows? There's a ton of ownership going to Phoenix. Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton. I'm going to include Bridges at 18%. Chris Paul at 20%. Torrey Craig at 18%. So those guys are all at 18 to 25%. Cam Johnson is at 15%. Dario Saric even picking up a little bit of love. I mean, Cam Johnson is the flat minimum on FanDuel. He's projected for 32% ownership there. Same situation for Torrey Craig, basically 30% owned. Are we getting to Phoenix against Oklahoma City the same way that the ownership says we should?
So I tend to take my chances on some blowout runs and not. 15-point spread for me is well enough for me to come under the field on Phoenix today. But if you want to target someone who's going to get a triple-double in the first half like Domantas Sabonis did, take your chances. Is it going to be DeAndre Ayton who puts up a triple-double performance? Probably not, but there's going to be one Phoenix Sun player that just blows off their salary just because of the spread and the quality of team that they're playing against. I would take my chances on cheaper salary guys in this situation. So I think a guy like DeAndre Ayton is probably where I would go to at $6,700 and $6,600 just because, hey, for some reason, if they get going, it's probably a lot of easy buckets somewhere. I'm just predicting a game script type of situation. Yeah. But it's a interesting situation where I don't think Booker and Paul are – I can't justify them at that ownership just because I'm so worried about they won't even get full run. And you really want these players to get full run to pay off those salaries. So that's how I feel about this OKC situation. I'm not going to fault you for playing these guys. The matchup is as good as it gets. And they could find a way to put up monster performances in three quarters as well.
The only guy that stands out to me as potentially underowned is on FanDuel. Mikal Bridges is 6,500, projected for 8% ownership. I'm willing to take a chance that he just falls into a couple extra steals and stuff from a sloppy Oklahoma City team, but everybody else is already owned in the 20 to 30% range. You're getting these guys, but I don't really want to get them with the field. I would like to be a little bit lighter here.
I also expect throughout our day, as the ownership projections do update, they will continue to drop a little bit. I think as news comes out, I don't think they'll be as projected to be owned as this much throughout the day.
All righty. For the Oklahoma City side, we do not know the status of Lou Dort or Pogo Stick. They are both listed as questionable for right now. Who knows if Kenrich Williams plays? I know they're trying to get Charlie Brown in there a little bit more and Gabriel Deck. I have a hard time figuring out what to do here. Here's the problem. There's no ownership coming to Oklahoma City. 6% owned Baisley on FanDuel, 7.5% owned Baisley on DraftKings. Everybody else is basically at 0 to 2%. Do you play Oklahoma City because they have to play 240 minutes? Do these guys look better than they should? Charlie Brown is the flat minimum on DraftKings, 3K. What happens if he's playing? Can we roster just a bunch of Oklahoma City?
I don't know about a bunch of Oklahoma City. I think Charlie Brown, I think you can go to him. Just 3K opens a lot of things up. I got burned really hard by Isaiah Roby last night. And I was pretty excited for him to play around maybe like 27, 28 minutes. And they obviously get blown out. The guy only makes one shot from the field. So I think we saw Moses Brown also play, I think, a little bit more minutes. Actually, no, he didn't. He only played 18 minutes. No one played a ton of minutes last night, obviously being blown up by 57. So I think taking your chances on Charlie Brown, I don't mind it just because on 3K over there, that's honestly about it. Obviously, Dort and Pokacheski will, if they do play, that changes a lot for this team. I expect that spread to maybe go from 15 to 12 potentially. But that's
I would have said 15 to 14 and a half.
Yeah, you're probably right. Honestly, I'm so bad at guessing the lines.
I don't think that Lou Dort can move it. Pokashevsky can't move the line at all. I don't think that Lou Dort can move it more than like a half point to a point.
Pokashevsky slander. Oh my God. No.
I'm a fan, but he's not great right now.
He's such a raw talent. He's got some offensive talent for sure, but he got to put some muscle on for sure.
Yeah, he should definitely eat during the offseason because here's some of the data. 85. Oh my God. 0.86 points per shot attempt this season. That is a 5th percentile outcome. He is shooting 27% from three, including 29% from the corner. He's shooting 50% at the rim. That is an 8th percentile outcome. The only thing that he seems to be, he in no location on the floor is he above average in shooting percentage, no matter where it is. He's 7 feet tall and he's shooting 50% at the rim. That's hard to do.
That is hard to do. I guess, yeah, for OKC side, I think it's Charlie Brown, and that's about it.
There you go, everybody. We're rostering cartoons now. I'm going to play Snoopy tomorrow. Linus is just going to be in all of my lineups. And then if I'm lucky, I'm going to pay down for Pigpen. Any final thoughts in this game?
Nah, Charlie Brown to the top. That's about it.
Okay. Yeah, it's all Chuck Brown. Could you imagine going by Charlie Brown with Charlie Brown existing in real life? Like, just you need a nickname, man. Just go by Charles or something.
Go by Charles.
All right, we got to give a shout out to the sponsor, No House Advantage. This is the spot that you should be looking to make your plays if you are trying to build your bankroll. You can use the promo code Awesemo when you sign up, get a $20 match deposit bonus when you do that. That's for all new subscribers, but you don't have to worry about fantasy points. This is a very different thing. We're worried about player props, and you're ranking the props that you select on a confidence interval. So your favorite prop is going to be worth 10 points. Your next would be 9. Your third best would be 8, and so on down the line. They've got a $10,000 guaranteed 5K to first contest going today. I think that would be perfect for you guys to get into. And here's the big piece of the information, the key piece of all of this. We provide all of the projections that Alex has assigned to the No House Advantage props. And we could tell you which ones are the best based on Alex's projection, based on the Awesemo projections. We can tell you the best props. And we also provide optimal lineups. We are taking it all out of your hands. If you don't want to do the work, you don't have to. Just take the free money, play the contests with the number one player in the world's projections. Can't beat that, by the way. And it's all there for you on the awesemo.com website for free every single day. You cannot beat it. I recommend you go to nohouseadvantage.com to check it out. Beat your friends, not the house. No House Advantage.
You want to hear something that's funny?
I do.
Charlie Brown's dad was also named Charlie Brown. So he chose to name his son Charlie Brown as well.
Oh, God. If I were named Charlie Brown, the amount of times that someone probably yanked a football out from him while playing football, it had to be exhausting growing up. I would have did it every time. I would have never let him try to do anything. I would have just every time, every single time. Grade A flicks. That's the biggest prize yet for N8 for No House Advantage. Been playing and cashing a bit there this week. $25 entry, 432 spots, and never fills all the way. Yeah. Overlay. Also, the best thing that you could have when you enter a contest. All it's doing is making things more likely for you to make money and sustain that money long term. So definitely, guys, definitely do that. I pitch a lot of stuff. This is as good as it gets. It's free money, and we provide the lineups if you need them. Like that, you cannot beat that at all. And since it's Sunday, we have no premium content for free today. So your only chance is No House Advantage if you're looking for the freebie stuff. 2 games to go. Philadelphia 76ers at the San Antonio Spurs. Spurs are 6-point dogs at home, 221 total. Philly looks to be in perfect health. San Antonio, on the other hand, Q-tag on DeJounte Murray, and obviously Derek White now out for the rest of the season. What a bummer. To me, Philly is 3 guys and 3 guys only, although if you want to get to $3,800 Seth Curry on DraftKings as a value option, that's there. But it's Embiid, it's Simmons, it's Harris. Those are the ways that I would want to go. Do you have any preferences in those guys?
Yeah, so on the Philly side of things, Embiid, I'm going to go to Embiid. I know we haven't seen his north of 30 minutes in about a week now. So if he's going to play 30-plus minutes, which I think in a matchup against the Spurs, it's a 6-point spread, I believe. Embiid has monster upside on both sides. I like going to targeting Embiid. I think his ownership is going to be kind of too low and for the upside he has. I like taking my chances on Embiid for sure. And man, I've been bit by Ben Simmons for the last 6 weeks. He's too cheap still, in my opinion. I think me and you have been on the same boat, and we're kind of sunk with this Ben Simmons situation. $7,200 for Ben Simmons is too damn cheap still. I'm going to keep riding, and if he sinks me yet again, so be it. I've been over the field on this guy for every single time he's been on the slate. And the best thing that could have happened to me was when he missed that game to the quote unquote flu, and he was caught at Target just chilling there. So, but Simmons and Embiid, and if you fall on Tobias Harris on FanDuel power forward situation where we have to roster 2, he's not a bad play. I think he's a pretty solid play even on DraftKings. It's just that Philly trio for me, and I never really fall on Danny Green or Seth Curry this year. That's just how it's been all year long.
Yeah, Curry sub 4K gets at least a little bit interesting to me, but nothing too crazy. I just appreciate that you and I are on the same page for Ben Simmons, because everybody in chat will just call me a moron for saying it. Nobody's going to say that about you. So it's helpful to have you on my side finally in this Ben Simmons debate. Now, go ahead.
I think we've just been on the bad side of math, honestly.
I agree. That every loss is just the bad side of math, man. I never make mistakes. San Antonio Spurs. There's not a ton here because it's sort of just like a pretty wide net. DeMar is at 10% ownership on DraftKings. Keldon Johnson at 17. Lonnie Walker at 3,500 is at 17% ownership. Devin Vassell, Rudy Gay, Patty Mills, all about 10% owned. If DeJounte Murray doesn't play, I think that dramatically changes the outlook for San Antonio. But this is a very difficult game. The matchup against Philly is not ideal from a defensive standpoint. I don't have anybody that truly stands out. I kind of agree with the ownership. I don't mind grabbing individual pieces of the Spurs, but I don't see any true star plays here.
Yeah, I think only maybe DeRozan stands out, but he's at $8,200, but he's coming off a massive game as well. If DeJounte Murray is out, that changes a lot for this team. We've seen Devin Vassell been starting, but Lonnie Walker has been picking up more minutes on the bench, and I believe has maybe closed the last two games, if I'm not mistaken. So Lonnie Walker might be someone we can target at $3,500, and $4,600 on FanDuel is a tad too expensive, but $3,500 on DraftKings, I think, is definitely a viable option. His ownership coming in with just under the field will be just fine, in my opinion. You don't even have to match the field with the projected ownership we have right now. But now, in terms of tournament upside, you want Devin Vassell to play around mid-20s minutes. Could that happen? It didn't happen the last game. He's the min. He's been starting, so that's the thing that's going for him. But it's really about it. Jakob Poeltl might need to play extended minutes. He played 43 last time, only had 33 and a half fantasy points. So 5,500. He has sometimes shown an upside at random times, but it's a tough Embiid matchup. I'm hesitant. And if DeJounte Murray plays, you can play him on DraftKings at 7,500. He's too expensive at $8,600 on FanDuel, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, I just don't know what to do with this Spurs team ever. DeJounte Murray's status is the key to it all, because if he ends up out, I like unloading on DeMar DeRozan for increased usage, increased assist rate. The Lonnie Walker, Patty Mills, Devin Vassell trio is all going to see some increased run as well. I think that can open up a little bit, but I don't really like tackling anybody going up against the Sixers.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It's a tough matchup as well. And they're kind of priced all too high. In my opinion, outside of Lonnie Walker on DraftKings, everyone else is just like way too high.
You ready to close this out?
Yep, let's do it.
Late night hammer. Toronto Raptors at the Los Angeles Lakers. Lakers 6.5 point favorites, 218.5 total. And by all accounts, we are mostly healthy here. Toronto does have a little bit of an injury problem, but nothing too crazy. We got no Gary Trent. Kyle Lowry is questionable, so keep your eye there. Chris Boucher also out, but we've known Trent and Boucher have been out. LeBron back now, AD back. So Lakers potentially at full strength. We got to keep an eye on LeBron's status and Caruso's status. Let's start on the Toronto side. Is anything appealing to you for the Raptors in this spot?
With all systems going, the Lakers team, now the Lakers matchup is tough, just because the insertion of LeBron and Anthony Davis, obviously an improvement over the guys that they're playing. On the Toronto side of things, tough together. Van Vliet, $7,200 stands out to me just because I think on FanDuel, we're rostering 2 shooting guards. I think I like it that he's going to take around 16 to 20 shot attempts at $7,200. There's a pathway for him to paying off that price tag. Kyle Lowry, if he were to play $6,900, does seem pretty favorable for him. So the matchup is not the greatest, obviously. OG Anunoby, I wouldn't really go there at $7,400. I like the Raptors price tags on FanDuel a lot more than I do on DraftKings. Just the way it's ironing out. That's really about it. If you want to play Raptors, play them on FanDuel. And then DraftKings, Lowry at $7K is a fine option if he's going to play. Just because Nick Nurse is going to roll these guys out for mid-30s minutes. Regardless of the tough matchup, that's something that we can target. When we feel confident in those minutes, Nick Nurse is going to hand out.
Absolutely is. I agree with you completely. I greatly prefer the FanDuel prices to the DraftKings prices. If we move over to the Lakers now, Anthony Davis, 9,600 on FanDuel, 9,100 on DraftKings. LeBron, 9,800 and 10K. I don't think that there's a possible way that we can get to LeBron in this spot. I'm still pretty interested in AD, particularly if he is projected for 4% ownership on FanDuel. That's just a guy that I want to have more. I'm not entirely sure why the ownership isn't getting there. Granted, he hasn't been spectacular in his return. Still a 1.22 fantasy point per minute guy. And at some point, we just expect Anthony Davis to be Anthony Davis again. So I have my eye on AD and then not anything else for the Lakers.
Yeah, I love Anthony Davis. I'm always well above the field on him. It hasn't panned out this year for me, but no, Anthony Davis, I'm going to do it yet again just because $9,100 on DraftKings, $9,600 on FanDuel. It's fine. I think it's a pretty solid play in my opinion. LeBron James is not the craziest play, I think, on FanDuel. I think we can get to some of him. Sub 10K on FanDuel. I think if he's going to play mid-30s minutes, there's a pathway for him to being pretty solid in terms of fantasy returns. What do you think of playing LeBron on FanDuel?
9,800. Let me look at it in comparison to like everybody else at the position. So same price as Butler. I would rather get to Jaylen Brown at 8,800, I think, at least at this point. Because I don't think there's any scenario where LeBron is like legitimately pushing himself. I think it makes a ceiling game for LeBron pretty difficult. And that's sort of what you need when you're rostering someone at 9,800. I would be much more likely to pay down to Mo Harkless, Cam Johnson, even Keldon Johnson at 5K. It's a tough sell for me on LeBron. Although, if LeBron is 0.2% owned, like our ownership projections say, then yes, I am significantly more likely to want to use him in a large field GPP.
Yeah, I doubt that's something that probably will tick up throughout the day, in my opinion. But yeah, I don't mind LeBron James at the small forward spot with that low-owned option. Low-owned LeBron James is pretty nice.
Final thoughts in the Lakers-Toronto game?
No, it's play the Raptors on FanDuel. There, Lowry on DraftKings if you want, but Anthony Davis honestly leads the way in this game for me.
Any final thoughts on this entire slate before we get out of here?
No, it's a fun, kind of a fun fantasy slate. Some intriguing games in the Kings and Mavs and Portland Celtics game that we talked about, but news is going to change it all at some point throughout the day. So stay tuned for that. But no, thanks so much for joining us. I had a ton of fun doing this morning.
Dang. I had a ton of fun as well. I enjoyed this Sunday morning show. We're carving out a good one every Sunday morning. So guys, please, there's 500 of you in here. Please hit that like button. If we can get that number north of 200 likes, that would be great. Quite a few of you in here that haven't hit that thumbs up. 3 more shows coming up later today. MLB Live Before Lock, The Deeper Dive, and NBA Live Before Lock. Please enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Be safe. Maybe have a mimosa and some brunch. It's probably what I'm going to do in the near future. Good luck tonight, everybody. Slate Starter Podcast is coming. The Process Show is back tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. We're back on it for another work week. Good luck tonight, everybody. Enjoy the last bits of your weekend. We'll talk to you again later.